We're live.
We are here at the public hearing to receive comments from the public on the alternative voting bylaw. The Town of Mahone Bay draft alternative voting bylaw was given first reading at the June 9th, 2020 meeting of Mahone Bay Council. The purpose of this hearing is to receive written and verbal submissions from the public on the proposed bylaw. We had this public hearing and the first reading were published in the Progress Bulletin on July 8th, 2020. The notice was posted at the website, town hall, post office, and Facebook. The staff report with the draft bylaw was posted on the Town of Mahone Bay website homepage for public viewing and comment, and no submissions or comments have been received from the public at this time.
Maureen, just to clarify, people can watch this, but if anybody wanted to actually make a comment, they did have the option to join the meeting, right?
Yes, the notification of the meeting included instructions to contact staff and people. We can certainly get them set up to participate in this meeting remotely. We are also in town hall right now so that people can come into town hall if they would like to. There was as everyone on council is aware, there was a slight change in the order from the province yesterday. So we put out something on Facebook. It was short notice, but that was the most immediate way we had to get information out that we are at town hall right now. If people want to come down and make a comment for submission to this public hearing.
It's an interesting world coming in front of the council, where the council all exists virtually in these squares and speaking to them. So as with normal, we're obligated to wait a period of time in case anybody does come into the office or wishes to join us here online. So Maureen, I think we wait 15 minutes, eh?
That's right. And I don't know, Kelly, getting my YouTube set up. Our setup here in town hall has shifted greatly in the last couple minutes before we went live. So Kelly, if you can just keep an eye on Facebook and let us know if any comments come in the next few minutes.
Sure.
Remarkable virtual simulation of our 15 minutes of silence that we normally have.
Can I ask a question about the text while we're waiting? May I?
Yeah.
So under the definitions, normal business hours means the time between 8:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. I thought that closing time was 4:30, so I'm just curious about the 4 p.m. there.
Yeah, that is not correct, and probably a good catch. I don't think it's substantial because what we're trying to define is our normal business hours, so I think we should correct that.
Okay, thank you. I wondered if something had changed.
No, I think it's having to do with the drafting process.
I have another question, if I may.
Go ahead.
What is to stop anybody from passing their PIN to somebody else?
It's against the law. It's the same as it's against the law for someone to take my information and go to vote. The federal election that we just had, I had to go to the polling station. There was an error. They had me voting somewhere 45 minutes away. So I had to show up with my identification and information about where I lived to update the list. Someone else could have done that and it would be against the law. So voter fraud is voter fraud.
One of the counselors in Bridgewater, who historically was opposed to electronic voting, always cited the possibility that one spouse would steal the other spouse's number and vote on them. But he had no examples of it ever happening.
In many ways, this does provide a little bit of a cushion to prevent some of that naturally happens. So if one spouse has issues, various accessibility issues, something like that, it's common to have a friend voter help them. But with this, with the use of alternative voting methods, someone could access, they could vote by phone, and then they have it set up so they would just hear, they wouldn't need to have vision. If even depending on the vision issue, you could just enlarge a screen. There are, you wouldn't need to worry about needing someone to help you walk behind the voting screen. So there are a lot of ways that this actually removes a lot of those everyday opportunities for someone to take advantage of someone else.
May I ask a question?
Please.
Would you walk us through the process for obtaining a PIN number and how those PIN numbers are generated?
So we're getting all that stuff set up in the background with the company should council decide to pass this bylaw. And a PIN number, we're not that far because we do not have this bylaw passed, but I believe it's based on someone's birth date. And what will happen is that I'm not sure exactly how that works. I don't think it's someone's like straight up birthday. It's based on, you know, like your driver's license number is based on your last name and your birthday, but it's not exactly that. So however they set that up, it will go out with your voter registration letter. So that's something we'll get set up, and that actually will happen very soon. In August, one way or the other, we have to work on the elector list. So that's coming up in the next couple weeks. So the difference would be if council were to decide to go ahead with alternative voting methods, that letter would look a little bit different than make sure we've got your name and address correct. It would have a little bit more information.
So when will the voters list be done? Late August, maybe, in that area?
I feel like it's mid-August, and then it would be completed by the end of August, I believe is the timeline. I've got 14 different screens I'm looking at now, so I'm not trusting myself to get all of the dates straight. But yes, we'll start that revision process very soon.
Well, thank you for all those answers, Mo. That's great, and really good to point out as well about a lot of people who maybe traditionally would have difficulty accessing the poll themselves will now be able to do so, which is a great improvement.
I have another question.
Hey, good.
Um,
That'll move us along, Penny.
I just can't stand the silence. So in a recount, what would account for the numbers being different on count number 1, count number 2, count number 3?
I don't know that I can answer that question. I know I've heard it discussed. I don't recall. There is a process for that. I think really the big issue is, yeah, I can't answer your question confidently that I have the correct answer at hand.
So the idea that they might be different shatters my faith in technology. They should all be the same.
Well, when
Yes.
real people are doing it, you know they're always different. So yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's getting bad as the Trump election coming up.
Yeah.
I thought he
For
was trying
anyone
to
who-
delay that.
More nerd than Dick Tracy, that guy.
They'll be kicking and screaming come January.
Well, let's hope so.
What a
Well,
new
if we don't
threat.
like the results, we can just, throw it all up in the air.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, it's a sad situation.
Are one of the municipalities most still going with paper? Or,
Locally, no.
okay,
Yeah, I think there are still a few that, at least at this point, have not opted to switch away. But MODL just this week decided to not have any election day at all. They're doing 2 weeks of open advanced polling, but they're not going to have a specific election day with polls around the county.
Hmm. So will they not have any hard ballot voting at all in the county, or is it all electronic?
It's all going to be electronic, and if you need assistance, you can go by the office during the 2 weeks of advanced polling.
Would that be Carolyn's office?
Well, I don't know about hers specifically.
So we're looking at having some hard copy ballots.
This
There is a s-
proposal is to have no hard copy ballots, which is at this point, I'd say, yeah, about 80% of the units have opted to have no paper copy ballots so far. And of course, we would still be in that camp too, because we haven't made that final decision. So I think a number are still considering and likely to go the electronic route.
You have a staff report on the council meeting this evening from me on
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
I think it'll be really interesting to see what our numbers are for voter turnout with the first year of electronic voting, whether it'll go up, go down.
Hmm.
It wouldn't make any difference unless it's significant.
That's one of the concerns that is really driving people toward this move, is because we don't want to create a barrier to voting by people being scared of public health issues or any rumor on Facebook that morning, and all of a sudden people wouldn't come out to vote. So we want to make sure that people have a way to come vote. So this does not preclude someone coming in to an actual polling station. It's just they wouldn't be given a piece of paper. They'd be given something that we can sanitize as soon as they go. Just like when you go to the grocery store and you punch in the numbers on your card, they quickly swipe it down and sanitize it before the next person. Same thing.
In terms of voter turnout, this next US federal election is really going to probably be the lowest in history. So it would be quite interesting to see just how low it will go, all paper and in the United States at this point.
There is some comparative data on electronic elections held in other places. And I was reading recently about the Markham situation where the voting on the actual day of the election was essentially the same as a conventional election, but voting rates in the pre-election period was up about 300%. And I think that Elections Canada and Elections Nova Scotia both have information on their websites that point to some of these comparative analyses showing positive upticks in overall voter participation.
Where was that at, Councillor O'Neill?
Markham,
Oh, Ontario.
Markham, Ontario, right?
Yes, that's the information we've been getting as well as we look into this. It takes into, like I said, all the accessibility issues and that sort of thing, and as well as all those things. Somebody was about to go outside and their kid got sick, well, shoot, I better go back. But now they can, deal with the kid and then quickly vote by phone or log on and do it electronically or something like that. So there's that option. They could still choose to go to a polling station, but when life happens, they can still vote. That's not someone that's lost.
So David, MODL is not going to have any polling stations?
Yeah, that's my understanding from speaking with
Yeah.
Alex. They made a decision just this week on a staff recommendation. So they will have a polling station set up at their office location, but
Mhm.
that's going to be the only one.
Okay.
I think they'd usually have a number around the county.
And I have a final question, just for conversation. Has there been a comparative analysis of the cost to the municipality of an electronic versus a paper-based election cycle?
Well, just in the experience of the last 2 election cycles where a lot of Nova Scotia municipalities have used it, a fully electronic is cheaper. The most expensive option is doing both things together. So that has always been, when you switch over to paper on the last day, you essentially pay the full cost of both an electronic and a paper election. Electronic is marginally cheaper otherwise, and especially if you do electronic and don't have polls like MODL, I expect it's going to be much cheaper. And we're at our time mark in terms of the hearing, and I guess you guys can confirm no one else came to the door.
No one came to the door.
There are no questions on Facebook or YouTube.
So, Your Worship, if you feel comfortable closing the public hearing, we can do so, and we will stop live streaming and then come back online. For anyone watching us, we'll be back on the live feed at 7 o'clock, if that's
Yes,
what you're
please,
comfortable with.
agreed.
Okay.
So now we can chat amongst ourselves, Penny.
So if you would close the